G'day, this is Captain Noob, and this is the Makarov PM pistol. I don't know what PM means, maybe someone can fill me in. So, basically this is a highly customizable Russian design weapon, and it's in pistol form. It has a lot of attachments, and it might take a while to get through them, so let's not dilly-dally here and get into them. So for the receivers, this thing curiously has automatic and also semi-automatic receivers, so if you want to go ahead and make this thing automatic, you can, which I'll do now. The modifications here seem to be, at least for the receivers, seem to be exactly what you'd find on the 10mm pistol, so that's interesting there. Next up for the barrels, this is no cosmetics, this is just purely a stat thing, so light barrel improved rifling will obviously improve it the most, so we'll do that. Next up for the grips, you've got all these grips that look the same but have different stats, and if you put the sniper's grip on it gives you a little bit of a stock, so kind of like how the stabilized versions of pistols give you a stock in Borderlands 2. We'll go for a sharpshooter's grip there, and that'll give us additional reload speed too, and that's nice. Next up, we've got the magazines here, so we've got the small one, the mid one, the large one, so 3 different types of mags before we get into the drum magazine, which looks absolutely ridiculous but would give us a huge ammo capacity, I would imagine. I think large is good enough for now. We'll get to using some of these attachments later because I do want to cover this more thoroughly than I cover other weapons. Next up for the sights, you've got standard, glowies, and also green dot or red dot sights, and since we never use any red dot reflexes on Fallout 4 simply because they're not in the vanilla game, I'm going to put the red dot on. Next up, we've got the muzzle attachments here, so you get a compensator, muzzle brake, which look really similar, and you've got the sniper barrel, which gives you just a big old barrel extension, and that'll actually greatly improve your range there. But a suppressor is what I'll go with, simply because there's no reason not to put on a suppressor. Now, for the rail mount, you can attach this on, and while that doesn't do anything on its own, it actually allows you to attach scopes on it, or maybe even stuff under the rail, so a flashlight, a bright flashlight, sorry, and a foregrip. So you can chuck a foregrip on this weapon, which I assume would change the animations. We'll check that out later, but for now I believe we'll just have that rail mount on a flashlight. And of course you get that legendary effect there if you feel like this thing isn't quite doing it for you, and judging by the damage here, this thing isn't going to be that great outside of sneak attack criticals, but let's see how this thing goes in Gunner's Plaza. Okay, so here we are in Gunner's Plaza along with our Makarov. We've got this thing loaded up with 32 bullets in that large extended magazine, which is pretty good. So we'll go ahead and get started on killing some of these gunners. I forgot this thing was automatic for a second. That's good. There you go. There's a little bit of the reload animation there, which always looks good. Now this thing, sounds like exactly like an assault rifle suppressed, which is kind of strange. And one thing I don't like about this side is that for some reason the dot is really big, and I prefer them to be smaller, but that's just a little bit of a nitpick. Not really anyone to blame for that one, it's just probably personal taste. Anyway, so if you've noticed already, if you sort of saw the background during the attachment section of this video, is that turret still making noise even though it's dead? Oh god, Fallout 4 is doing this thing again. And you know, he will bash you to death, sure. Yeah, this is not the usual lass we have shooting gunners. In fact, it's Gunner herself. I don't know how that works, but yeah, that's her. That's just someone dupe. Anyway, back to the weapon. So this thing, solid animations. The sounds are a little bit strange since, you know, I'm accustomed to hearing this sound while firing an assault rifle, so it almost feels like this thing is meant to be a little bit more powerful. But the animation for the recoil it's alright. It does its job. Finding it a little bit over the top. There's a lot of rattling around the sight which you aim with, which is kind of distracting sometimes, but that can be negated by going into third person and holding down the trigger there. There's no point in sneaking if I'm just going to not get sneak attack criticals anyway, so we'll go in nice and close and just Glock Makarov that guy, I suppose. Don't even have to aim down sights with this thing. Alright, next up, this melee dude in here. It will be the next one to die. These blokes don't ever pay attention. I always get a sneak attack critical on those dudes. Anyway, looks like these ones here were the ones who confused me before. Oh good, they're stuck inside a wall. Great. Okay, there they are. They've come out of the walls. Now that brings me back to that time when Proctor Ingram makes a joke about how the Institute can get their tin soldiers out of walls. It looks like that the gunners have learned this trick too, so that's fine. Oh, that one's got a Gauss rifle. Would it be irradiated by any chance? Yes, it is. Anyways, we'll quickly get down to this side, and then we'll try to kill these gunners here. Yep, you go down. We'll quickly just try to round up the rest of these. The Makarov isn't doing terribly well when we're not doing sneak attack criticals, and that is to be expected out of a weapon that only does just over 100 damage. It is a big old drain on your 10mm pistol ammo, so if you find yourself short of that, and you probably won't ever, it's probably better off grabbing a standard 10mm pistol for better damage. But there you have it. That was the Makarov pistol in Gunner's Plaza, and the new girl, Bridget is her name, just like Captain Bridget out at that scrapyard with the crane bridge thing. And I guess she came in here because all these gunners are unworthy of killing a certain individual who kills them all the time. So she's just gonna thin out the ranks and kill the weak ones so the stronger ones will replace them. I don't know. I like killing gunners in general, I guess. Okay, so there's Swan over there. And I've gone ahead and changed the attachments here, so I've gone and put on the actual stock there, and there's the foregrip and drum mag. I've also put the red glow sights on it, so in first person, whilst it didn't happen in third person, you can see that you're actually sort of holding on to that grip there, and you can't really see the stock in first person, but when you aim in third person, it's kind of weird because you hold the pistol out still if it hasn't got a stock at all, so that doesn't really make any sense on that. And there's a little bit of clipping sometimes if you relax, or if your Soul Survivor relaxes with it. But anyway, there is a Swan over there. We'll get stuck into him, and without all these sneak attack criticals, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't be doing any damage to him really, because simply this weapon just isn't that high damaging. But if you wanted to make this weapon do a little bit more damage or make it easier for this weapon, you can always go ahead and just change difficulties down to very easy if you really wanted it to. I'm playing on very hard, so that obviously incurs a 50% damage penalty, so that means all of my weapons damage output is slashed in half. So when it comes to weapons that usually do very little damage to the modder's design, they end up lacking playing in very hard mode. But there's always sneak attack criticals to help you out with it, and that 100 rounds in that mag there really helped me just mop up all of the Swan hit points. I don't know what I'm saying. It worked well, but I really wish it would do better. We'll go ahead and chuck on a legendary effect on this, and then we'll move on. Okay, so if you haven't guessed what the next legendary effect is, you probably haven't been watching my channel for very long. This is going to be the Furious effect on this here thing. So let's get stuck into this Deathclaw here, and since we're lazy, we'll go into VATS just to get some of that damage stacking quickly. Doesn't really matter where we hit him, just as long as we are hitting him and getting that damage stacked, we should be fine. Now it's going to take a very, very long time to get good damage stacking on this thing, because obviously with the base damage already not that good to begin with, we're going to have to be shooting him a lot to actually get that stacked up. So if you could just stand there and take all of these bullets, that would be very good of you. Oh, you're out of here. Well, we'll see about that. We'll go ahead and shoot your belly a few times, and we'll get those first shots as a guaranteed hit, so we don't lose any of the stacking. There we go. Now he's mutated. One more crit, and then we'll just let the rest of them go. And with every shot, we're getting plus 15% more damage, and it stacks on top of each other, so it's even more every time, and it's brilliant. I love the Furious effect. Can we get him all the way from here? Let's see if we can, if he's not going to move. We must have messed up the stacking. We hit the mythic Deathclaw, unfortunately. That's fine. We'll just quickly hip fire our way over there, and I really like hip firing this weapon somehow. I just really enjoy it. I usually don't hip fire in games like in Fallout 4, but for this it just feels right. Anyway, there's a Night Stalker Chameleon Deathclaw, so if you could just bugger off, or not bugger off and just stand there and take all of these bullets, there you go. That one's dead. Now, one complaint I do have about this weapon's animations is that, wow, these people just gave up. Is that when you do fire, the whole screen rattles and it's actually kind of irritating. So, maybe if you just look at this Deathclaw's hand bob up and down just as a point of reference when I fire. Hang on, I'm just going to kill this Deathclaw first. Looks like my work wasn't totally done. And that was some interesting physics there. See this tree stump? Watch it rattle around when I fire this weapon, so that's a little bit nauseating, I suppose, and I kind of wish there wasn't any first-person movement once you're firing your weapon, unless it's like a slow-firing weapon that sort of shunts your camera around as you fire it to make it feel like it's powerful, then that's acceptable. But there you have it, that was a Makarov. A very good weapon indeed, but unfortunately it is just not good in the damage department. Thankfully you can just get into Creation Kit and tune it up if you feel like it, but you don't really have that option on Xbox One. So if you'd like to see this weapon in your game, be sure to check out the description. This thing is currently in the Hot Files and Nexus mods, so chances are you might have seen this if you've browsed that site. And look at this, hair physics. I'm not used to seeing hair physics, so that's interesting. Anyway, so there's that too. What do you reckon? Is it too much of a gunner? Do we not like gunners over here? Anyway, let me know your thoughts on her as well as the weapon in the comments. Oh, I'm begging for comments now. I'm just going to cut the video here before I tell you to like and subscribe and then donate to my Patreon. And yeah. I don't have a Patreon, by the way. Don't worry about it.